Hello everyone and welcome back to another modelled writing video. If you've been with us before, then you'll know how we structure these videos. If you're new here, welcome, and today we will be looking at two Task 1 questions. Task 1 are the smaller essay questions. You'll only have 20 minutes for these ones, and you'll be expected to write a minimum of 150 words. So that's what we'll be looking at today. We've got two separate Task 1 questions to tackle, and we'll go through the plan together and we'll think of ideas. We'll do the write up as if we were in the exam itself. So, this is really good for you if you have maybe booked your IELTS exam, want some more practice. If you're not sure about Task 1, then you've come to the right place. As we go along through the task today, I'll talk to you about some tips and things to watch out for in order to get those higher band scores. So, welcome, and I hope you find this helpful. Okay, well, that being said, let's go into our first task. Now, this is going to look at a line graph. Line graphs are quite popular, I'd say. They can be on their own, there can be more than one, they could be in a combination with other graphs, so definitely one to prepare. Okay, the question. The graph below shows the population figures of different types of turtles in India between 1980 and 2012. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so the first thing that jumps out to me is how they are telling us how they want the question to be answered. So we want to select and report the main features, only the main ones, not every single one. That's an important point and something you'll be assessed on. And also we want to make comparisons when they are where they're relevant. So when they're particularly striking or interesting, we want to talk about them. All right, so what are we actually looking at? Population figures of different types of turtles in India. And we have two between these 2 years here. So 32 years this spans. All right, let's bring in the line graph itself. Here we go. So on the x-axis, we have the years, 1980 to 2012. On the y-axis here, we have the index. Okay, so and they're telling us that 1980 equals 100. So these are the population figures. So how many of each turtle there are. Okay, and then here's our key at the bottom of the different types of turtles. So we have leatherback turtles, and the brackets, maybe these are the different types of leatherbacks. Green turtles, all species, and then olive ridley turtles here. Okay, so there's quite a lot going on, but actually when we break it down, it's fairly straightforward. We're just going to talk about the different population figures of these different turtles. So initial thoughts, I'm thinking, oh wow, olive ridley in this quite fitting olive type colour has definitely the highest population for the majority of the years, whereas on the other hand, leatherback turtles have the lowest, and then these two green turtles and all species follow a fairly similar trend actually. All right then, so maybe we can think about our groups, and perhaps we can think about, well, we could do this in two different ways really. We could do time. That's quite a nice way of breaking it up. So perhaps we could do 1980 to 1996. And then 96 to 2012. That could be quite nice. Yeah, let's go for that. You could also group together two of the turtles. Maybe you could do green turtles in all species, and then the other two. But I quite like time. It's quite easy to group the time together. So 1980 to 1996, and then we'll link them 1996 to 2012. Okay then, so let's think about our overview. Now our overview is really important. We want to make a sweeping statement about what we're seeing. We don't want to use specifics. We just want to be very, very general. So I'm going to talk about olive ridley turtles. And we're checking our tense because this is in the past. So past tense had the highest population compared with the others for the majority of the years. Okay, so they were definitely having more turtles in that species than the others, including all species. Alrighty, so we've got our groups, we've got our overview, we've thought about potential trends, what we're seeing. We're trying to digest the information quite quickly. Obviously in the exam you don't have a lot of time, so this is where our plan comes in handy because it helps us stay on track, stay focused, and making sure we're answering the question, which is really important. Okay then, so let's go to our write-up. We have our question. We have also some really useful words and synonyms. Words for decreased stay the same, increased, and then when you add these with these adverbs here, when you put them together, they make for a really nice way of expressing, of reporting back on trends and talking about what's happening. It's very useful. Unfortunately, you won't have this in the exam, but it's there today to help us. And of course, we have our line graph itself to look at the figures there. All right, so let's make a start. And what we need to do first, if you've seen our videos before, then you'll know, we need to paraphrase this sentence here. The graph below shows the population figures of different types of turtles in India between 1980 and 2012. We don't have to paraphrase every word, but we can definitely, in this case, for example, be more specific, like the line graph. Below shows, we could say displays. Oh, displays. The population figures, the amount or the number of different species of turtles in India between the years 1980 and 2012. The line graph displays the number of different species of turtles in India between the years 1980 and 2012. Okay, so we've paraphrased as much as we can there. And now we can go into our overview. Okay, so a nice way to open up our overview is to say something like in general, or on the whole, or at first glance. They're nice openers. In general, olive ridley turtles had the highest population out of compared to all turtles and all species. We can do commas to turtles and all species for the majority of the 32 years. In general, olive ridley turtles had the highest population compared to all turtles and all species for the majority of the 32 years. Okay, so that is our overview. So now we can get started with our first group, and we're talking about 1980 to 1996. Okay, so in 1980, all groups started around the 100 mark. All turtles and all species started at a very similar point, 100. Okay. And then what happens? For the first 2 years, we see an increase, particularly with green turtles. They reach nearly 110. The next 2 years witnessed a gradual increase for all groups, especially or particularly green turtles, which reached 1982, almost 110. Okay, we want to be careful we don't want to report back on every single step because we've got quite a lot to do here. So let's just pick a few interesting sort of trends. Is anything happening in 1986? Green turtles decrease, and actually leatherback turtles seem to decrease. Let's talk about that. So in 1986, green turtles sharply decrease. And then in 1988, they reach, about 95. To reach 95 in 1988. And yes, leatherback turtles are following a similar decline here. Meanwhile, leatherback turtles are following a similar trend, and significantly decreased. Let's talk about maybe, there were 97 in 1990, hitting 97 in 1990. Okay, what is happening? So in 1994, 1995, Olive Ridley, after increasing steadily for the whole time, they then increase quite sharply. So after steadily growing for, this would be 14 years or 15 years. 15 years, Olive Ridley turtles We're checking our spelling as we're going along. Olive ridley turtles dramatically increase. And what do they reach? 1997, they reach, about 135. And in but that's the next group, 97. So we'll do 1996. Maybe we can talk about that in the next group. So we could say olive ridley turtles. Ridley turtles were gradually rising for 15 years, and they reach about just over 120. They stood at just over 120. Okay, let's read this back and see how it's sounding. In 1980, all turtles in all species started at a very similar point, 100. The next 2 years witnessed a gradual increase. Oh, we've used gradual here. A steady increase. So we're not looking to repeat ourselves too much. For all groups, especially green turtles, which reached almost 110. In 1986, green turtles sharply decreased to reach 95 in 1988. Meanwhile, leatherback turtles so it's really important to go back and edit. We're following a similar trend and significantly decreased. Have we used decrease? Yes, significantly dropped, hitting 97 in 1990. Olive ridley turtles, on the other hand, were gradually rising for 15 years, when in 1995 they stood at just over 120. Okay then, so we now want to talk about 96 for our next paragraph, our next body. So what is happening? Well, green turtles take a sharp rise. In 1996, green turtles population rose to reach, we're looking at 1999, to reach almost 100, like in 1980. So we're comparing between the times and the different species. Okay, so what is happening? Have we talked about leatherback turtles? Leatherback turtles were continuing their decline. Let's talk about maybe how many did they have in 2000? About 70. After totaling 70 in 2000, this fell to 60 in 2002. Okay. What else is happening here? So after, so we've done leatherback turtles. We can talk about olive ridley. What about all species? Is anything happening here? Oh, they plateau. So from the years 2003, 2004 to 2008. From the years 2004 to 2008, all species figures seem to plateau. Seem to plateau, which means stay the same. And what figure were these at? Oh, around 105. Around 105. Okay. Anything dramatically happening at this time? Green turtles. Maybe we could talk about olive ridley. So they drop in 2000 and 2006 to 2007. However, olive ridley turtles saw a rapid plunge from 2006 to 2007, 2006 to 2007. And how much did they drop at? So in 2006, we were at about 130, and then we go to about, so they drop about 10, dropping approximately 10. Okay, let's round this off. So what's happening at the end, we'll just mention leatherback turtles have the lowest numbers, or have the lowest number in the last year, 2012. Oh, around 60. Around 60. Yes. Okay. Let's have a read back and see how this sounds. In 1996, green turtles' population rose to reach almost 100, like in 1980. Leatherback turtles were continuing their decline. After totaling 70 in 2000, this fell to 60 in 2002. From the years 2004 to 2008, all species figures seemed to plateau, around 105. However, olive ridley turtles saw a rapid plunge from 2006 to 2007, dropping approximately 10. Leatherback turtles have had the lowest number in the last year, 2012, around 60. Okay, so you can see that we are bombarded with information here. It would be really easy to just relay everything back, but the skill here is to pick the most striking bits of the information, and we don't want to talk about everything. We just want to talk about the most sort of interesting parts, really. Okay, so let's count these words and see how we're doing. All right, so this brings us to 195 words, so slightly over the 150 word minimum here, but there is no upper limit. So if you are a fast writer or typer, you can, of course, add more information. as long as you're following this structure, you can omit some examples from here to make it a bit more succinct if you want to, or you can add to it. But the most important thing is to, yes, understand the structure and how we're approaching these types of questions, and then we're going back and we're editing and making sure everything's okay. So that's the approach here, and you're welcome to adopt this approach and follow this in the exam. It's a surefire way to show that you can group, you can you're making it clear to the examiner that you're paraphrasing, you're writing your overview. So I think it's a good structure. Okay then, well, let's go into our next task one of the day, and this is going to look at a table. Now, tables can seem a little bit daunting at first or a bit intimidating, but not to worry, because we're going to approach them exactly the same way as we would any other piece of data. They're a bit less visual, but it doesn't change the fact that we can still, of course, use the numbers and report back. So that's okay. All right, the question then. The table shows the reasons both men and women decided to shop at Asda. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so we again are being told how to answer this question. They want us to select and report the main features, only the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. So again, we're not making comparisons throughout for every piece of information. Just when we think it's particularly important or striking. Okay then, so what are we doing here? We're looking at the reasons both men and women decided to shop at a supermarket called Asda. Okay then, let's bring in the table. Right, so here we go. On the left, we have our reasons. Close to home, good reputation, 24-hour shopping, parking facilities, friendly staff, and competitive prices. Okay. And then we have men and then we have women. So these are divided into, these groups, and the amounts of each person next to the reason why they shop there. So that's noted down. Okay, initial thoughts then. Ooh, close to home is a big one, followed by good reputation. Many people think that. And also parking facilities. They've also got a lot of numbers here. Low numbers include 24-hour shopping, friendly staff, competitive prices, sort of mid-range there. All right, so we are going to approach this in exactly the same way. We're going to group them together. So I think I'm going to group them with high numbers compared to lower numbers. You could do, I was thinking maybe men and women. That would be good as well. This is what I'm going to do today. So we're going to do close to home, good reputation, and let's do parking facilities. Parking facilities. Okay, and then lower numbers, we've got 24 hours. We're just noting, so you don't have to worry about making full sentences here. Friendly staff, and competitive prices. Okay, so that's how I'm going to approach these groups. Oh, my overview then. Well, I'd say the main reason why both men and women, now I know that women have higher groups, but we are generalizing here. That's the point of an overview, so that's okay. The main reason why men and women shop at Asda is because it's close to home. Okay, there we go. So generalization for our overview there. Make the box a bit bigger. Okay, lovely. So we've got our groupings, we've got our overview, we've tried to digest as much of this information as possible. And actually, this table is fairly straightforward. It's not too complicated. And I think it's quite a nice, if you were to get a table like this in the exam, it's quite a nice one to answer, really. So let's go into the write-up now. Okay, what do we need to do? Well, of course, we need to paraphrase this sentence here. Okay, so the table or the data provides information on the reasons is hard to paraphrase. We could put reasons why males and females went to do their shopping at Asda. Okay, the data provides information on the reasons why males and females went to do their shopping at Asda. Or maybe chose to do. I like that. Chose to do their shopping at Asda. All right, so that's our paraphrased first paragraph there. And now, of course, we need to go into our overview. So on the whole, that's quite nice. On the whole, the main reason why men and women shop at Asda is because it is close to home. On the whole, the main reason why men and women shop at Asda is because it's close to home. So we're not pulling figures from the table just yet. That is what our groups are all going to be about. So let's dive into our first group, and these are the most popular reasons. Or we could say one of the most popular reasons for shopping at this supermarket was due to the fact it was in close proximity to the consumer's home. 25 men and 20 women stated this. Okay, so we've got to be careful with this table actually, because it could be very easy to just state every single number because there's not too many, and we don't want to do that. So we want to be a bit creative with how we feedback this information. So we've stated the highest one close to home. So now let's go to good reputation. The reputation of the shop was important to more women than men. 22, in fact. And then we could say, which was, in fact, 5 more than men. Okay, so good reputation. And then we want to go to parking facilities. Parking facilities was another common cause for people choosing this supermarket. The same amount of women who put their name towards close to home also decided parking was the top reason, where and men were only one more at 21. Okay, so we're phrasing things in a bit of a creative way. We're not just stating all of the numbers. We're trying to be a bit more interesting with it. So one of the most popular reasons for shopping at this supermarket was due to the fact it was in close proximity to the consumer's home. 25 men and 20 women stated this. The reputation of the shop was important to more women than men, 22, which was in fact 5 more than 22, which was in fact 5 more than the other gender, we could say. Parking facilities was another common cause for people choosing this. We could say was also a common answer. The same amount of women who put their name towards close to home also decided parking was the top reason. That's a bit wordy. We could say women scored the same number for this reason and also close to home, and men were only one more for parking at 21. Okay then, so it's a bit more wordy, but we're just trying to find different ways of stating back the numbers here because we haven't got too many really to play with, so we're trying to compare and contrast in different ways. Okay then, so let's go to lower numbers, and competitive prices were lower, but they were actually the higher end, so we can bridge the gap with them. The other 3 reasons had lower figures. However, competitive prices were the highest. Were the highest was the one with the highest numbers. And what did they have? So 17 and 14. 14 men agreed, whereas 3 more women. Whereas women had 3 more votes. 3 more votes for this group. Okay, so competitive prices. Now let's talk about friendly staff. So strikingly, they were the same, 6 and 6. Friendly staff. friendly staff gathered the same amounts of people for each gender. And then I like a bracket, we can put 6. Okay, and then we can talk about 24-hour shopping. The lowest group of all 24-hour shopping attracted the least votes for both men and women. 4 and 0, respectively. Or we could say 4 for men and no women put their name against this reason. Okay, let's read this back. The other 3 reasons had lower figures. However, competitive prices was the one with the highest numbers. 14 men agreed, whereas women had 3 more votes for this group. We could say 14 men agreed and women had 3 more votes for this group than men. I could say 17. Strikingly, friendly staff gathered the same amount of people for each gender, 6. The lowest group of all 24-hour shopping attracted the least votes for both men and women, 4 for men and no women put their name against this reason. We could use a word to sort of state and maybe interestingly, no women put their name against this reason. Okay, so you can see how we've had to be a little bit creative here to report back on this information. But yes, we don't want to state every single number. That's a bit boring as well. We can find different ways of relaying the information. Okay, let's count the numbers, not the numbers, the words for this one. Alrighty, well, this came to 196, which is very similar to the last one, actually. So yes, there we go. That's quite a manageable amount to aim for. It's quite a nice number, just over the 150 there. So you can see how we've structured this and been quite creative in how we fed back the information. So I hope that's helped today. We've done a line graph and a table, which are, yes, quite good ones to be comfortable with and familiar with. Do let us know if you've got any questions. We love to hear from you or comments. And I hope that's been helpful today. We'll see you next time.